Have you ever walked over a health pack, a weapon, or an item in a first-person shooter and you collect them? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of those invisible systems that make your game feel seamless, the PickUp component in Unreal Engine 5, the next part of this beginner series of C++ in Unreal Engine. In this video, you'll learn how to create a reusable collision-based component that detects when a player touches it, sends out a signal, and triggers the PickUp logic, all while keeping your project clean and modular using C++. And in this logic, you will be introduced to an essential concept in programming games, delegates. If you're serious about understanding how systems really work under the hood in Unreal, you'll love this breakdown. But before we get into it, don't forget to support this channel's content by liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell so you never miss another tutorial, dev insight, or game industry strategy we share. And when you are ready to move from tutorials to real methodology, visit Woolen.com and take our free training, How to Become a Game Changer Video Game Creator. Also, I want to invite you to learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator, our mentorship program with a lifetime access. It will be my pleasure to talk with you and figure out together if it is the perfect fit for what you want to achieve as a game creator professional. Now, let's dive into how this PickUp component works and why it's such a smart design choice. The next component we are going to cover is the one related to the PickUp. When you play the game and you move close to this weapon, you pick up the weapon. This is the component that handles this behavior. Select the TP PickUp component and open it. Let's click the header and start analyzing this code line by line. In this section, we are diving into delegates. Delegates are a powerful feature in Unreal Engine that lets different parts of your code communicate with each other in a flexible way. This line of code declares a delegate that we call f_on_PickUp that takes one parameter of the type a_my_shooter_FPS character, which is named PickUp character. In simple terms, it defines a system that allows multiple other objects or functions to listen for when a pickup event happens, and it tells them which character pick it up. There are other two similar declarations to this one. One is the declare dynamic delegate that is only for one listener, and there is another called the declare dynamic multicast delegate, two parameters, and in that case we pass two parameters. Think of the f_on_PickUp like a custom event type, and you will later, you can see here on this line, and the U property, that you will need a declaration such as this for completing the declaration of the delegate. Once you declare and define this delegate, you can do several things. First, you can broadcast the event when a pickup happens. Then other subsystems such as blueprints, UI, game logic can subscribe it without hard-coding dependencies. And the third thing is that it keeps your game modular and extensible. Think of this like a group text message. You send a message saying, someone pick up this item. Along with this message, you send the name of the person who picked it up. And anyone subscribed to the message thread, that could be an UI, audio, log, etc., can react however they want. Play a sound, they can update an inventory, display a message, and this without needing to be tightly connected to the PickUp code. The next part is the declaration of this class. This line of code, the first one here and this one, tells Unreal Engine that we are creating a new class that will be called UTP PickUp component, and that class inherits from the USphere component. Different to the projectile where we inherit from the A actor, in this case we inherit from USphere component. It also says that this is a blueprint-friendly component that you can attach to actors like weapons, health packs, etc. At this moment, I want to take a second to talk about conventions in Unreal. As you can see, the name of this class component is TP PickUp component. You have two different elements to have in consideration. The first one is the prefix. In our case, is an U. That U refers that this could be this is a class that inherits from a new object. It could be a UActor component, a USim component, a USphere component. You could also have others like A for actors, F for structs, and E for enums. The suffix on the other side, this element that is called component, is just for us to distinguish your component class from any other regular variables or blueprint names. One great thing about Unreal, though, is that you don't have to think about the prefix when you are creating a class. Let's go back to Unreal, and in the C classes, My Shooter FPS, let's right-click, select New C++ class, because we want to create a new class. It's going to be a child of actor component. Next, and let's name this my new component. Now create class. The new class is added in My Shooter FPS folder. Here it is. Let's open it. Because you're trying to add a new class, click on Reload All. Here is the new class. And if we go to the header, you will see that the notation starts automatically with a U, even though we didn't write that U in the name of our new class component. The rest is exactly the same. Because this is just a demo of how to create a class, I don't want this class to be part of my project. So close all the classes, the files that you have open, select with Shift and clicking the header and the implementation file you want to delete, right-click and select Remove. Click OK, and the header and the implementation files will be removed. Now, you still have the class here. So how are you going to solve this? Right-click, go to Show in Explorer, close the project, and in the Explorer also remove these two files, the My New Component H and the CPP. Go to Build, run Build Inside, and rebuild. Now go back to Epic Games and open your project once more. This prompt will appear because you make some changes to your project. Would you like to rebuild them now? Yes. And give some time to Unreal to process all the changes. Here we are back at your project and we don't have the class that we created a moment ago. Let's open again the tPickUp component and go back to the header file. The blueprintable is saying that you can create a blueprint based on this class. The blueprint type says that you can use this class as a variable or pin in a blueprint. The class group custom says that this component shows up in the custom section in the blueprints editor. And finally, the meta blueprint spawnable component says it allows this component to be added to actors in the blueprints editor at component menu. As you can remember, we watch here. You can add it with this button. Then we have the usual generated body, which is a macro, as you can remember, that it is for the Unreal's reflection system to work. Then we have the onPickUp, which is the delegate that we defined previously, marked as a blueprint assignable, so you can connect blueprint logic to it when you pick it up, when you want to make a sound. And the category, which is interactions. This is for organizing it neatly in the blueprint UI. Then we move to the constructor that has to have the same name as the class, which is the UTP pickup component. I forgot to mention, as you can see, that they are both public. The constructor makes sense because all the time you want to construct this new object and you need the constructor, but also the delegate because you want to have access to this delegate to listen to when this event happens. And finally, we have the protected section with a virtual void begin play that we're going to override and a function for handling the OnSphereBeginOverlap. Let's move the parameters to make it easier to read. And now let's inspect them one by one. The first one is a U primitive component called overlap component. This is the sphere that was overlap. and it refers to this component. Then we have the other actor. This is the actor that entered the sphere, for example, the player. Then we have the other component, which is another uPrimitive component. And this is the specific component on the actor that overlap, for example, the player. Then we have the other body index. This is an index of the overlapping body part, which is used for complex collisions. Honestly, nothing that we're going to use at this moment. Next, we have a Boolean, which is called bFrontSweep, which means that if this overlap results from a movement sweep or not. And finally, and very important, is the sweep result, which is the full detail of the collisions, impact points, normals, etc. Let's move to the implementation file. First off, remember that in the header, we have the uSphere component as the parent of this component. When we call the constructor, the only thing that we do is define the radius for this sphere. That's why the sphere radius is right now 32f. To connect everything, let's go to the blueprint, and if you select the component, which is the PickUp, and go to the viewport, you can see this sphere. This is the sphere, the components field that will call the delegate that we created a moment ago. And if you look in the details, you'll see this section, which is the sphere radius defined in 32, just as we did in code. Then we have the function beginPlay. As you remember, beginPlay is called automatically by Unreal when the game starts or when this component is initialized in the world. Then we have the super beginPlay. It's a good practice to always call the parent class beginPlay so that any built-in behavior still runs. And then you can continue with what you're going to add up. Remember that if you don't do that, the only thing that will be running is the code, that it is inside your beginPlay because you are overriding the code. But by saying super beginPlay, you guarantee that first you're going to run the code that is on the parent and then yours. Next, we have the OnBeginOverlap AddDynamic. This is the key logic. This binds your custom function, which is OnSphereBeginOverlap, to the components overlap event. So whenever something like a player enters this sphere, your functions will be called. Without this line of code, the PickUp wouldn't respond to anything. Now let's get to the logic of the OnSphereBeginOverlap. What happens when we overlap this object sphere? We first check with this cast if the other object that is overlapping is of the type MyShooterFPS character. And if that's the case, we're going to assign it to this parameter. Then we confirm if this parameter is null or not. If it's null, it's because the other object that was overlapping was not of the type MyShooterFPS character. In that case, we don't do anything. But if it is not a null pointer, which means that this character has a value, then we continue. Inside the if, the first thing is related to the delegate call. As you can see, this is the delegate and we're saying broadcast character. This sends out the signal like, hey, this character picked me up. Any blueprint or system that is bound to the onPickUp will now respond. And that could be like playing a sound, give health, add inventory, etc. What can drive you a bit crazy is that this event is not being listened when we open, for example, the character is not presented in any place. So how we're going to broadcast this to the character? How it is implemented in this template of Unreal? Going back to Unreal, and in the first person looking for the blueprints, you might think that in the BP first person character, it's probably that it is implemented in some way in the event graph, but we have an empty event graph. So what is the other logical place to find this? The answer is on the PickUp rifle, which is also this PickUp rifle. You can select it here and go in the type and edit the blueprint. Or you can also double-click this BP PickUp rifle. Inside the event graph, you will find the onPickUp or the TP PickUp delegate event. And you see that we are passing a parameter with this event, which is the PickUp character. If you go to the code, you will see that we have this parameter, which is the character. And if you go to the definition on the header file, you will see that the description is the PickUp character. Inside Unreal, PickUp character. Now everything starts making more sense. And for this class, even though the class settings, as you can see, is the parent class is actor, it makes sense because in C++ what we define is a component. This is the component that we added. And if you can also look here for TP, and you will see the component, which is the TP PickUp component. And we can see it here on the add option of the components for a blueprint because of the way that we declare this class. Back in our project in Unreal, you can see that when the onPickUp event happens, we attach a weapon to the PickUp character, and the TP weapon is another component that is referenced in this blueprint. We're going to cover the details in the next lesson. And eventually, if this is true, then we create another animation where we are grabbing the weapon. And at the end, we set a variable that has a rifle as true. Finally, we have this section. This removes all bindings to this overlap event. Why? Because once the item is picked up, we don't want the overlap logic to run again. This is a clean and safe way to prevent duplicate pickups or unwanted other types of behavior. In simple terms, this code turns your component into a smart pickup zone. It listens for overlap events. When a player walks into it, it checks if it's a character, and if so, it sends out a pickup event. Then it deactivates itself so the event doesn't happen again. If this video gave you clarity on how to build a smart, reusable pickup system in Unreal Engine 5, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you stay updated with everything we are building here on the channel. Visit Woolon.com to get instant access to the free training, how to become a game-changer video game creator and start designing your career path in game development even after your day job. And I want to invite you to learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator, a mentorship program that gives you lifetime access to support, guidance, and strategies to transform yourself and your career path. I'd be happy to talk with you and explore whether it's the right step for your game dev journey. And as always, keep creating, keep sharing, and most importantly, keep dreaming big. See you soon, my fellow creators.